faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found him hath found a treasure. A faithful friend is the medicine of life and immortality. Our Lord himself has given us an example in his friendship for St. John, who was known as the disciple whom Jesus loved. St. Paul had friends to whom he was deeply attached. He sorrowed at their absence. Meeting them again was his sweet consolation. The following definition of friendship comes from the book The Spiritual Life. It's a traditional Catholic book, and they include this great quote from St. Francis de Sales. The more exquisite the virtues are, which shall be the matter of your communications, the more perfect shall your friendship be. If this communication be in the sciences, the friendship is very commendable, but still more so if it be in the moral virtues, in prudence, discretion, fortitude, and justice. But should your reciprocal communications relate to charity, devotion, and Christian perfection, good God, how precious will this friendship be! It will be excellent because it comes from God, excellent because it tends to God, excellent because its very bond is God, excellent because it shall last eternally in God. Oh, how good it is to love on earth as they love in heaven, to learn to cherish each other in this world as we shall do eternally in the next. And so in today's video, I just wanted to talk about the subject of friendship and also talk about when we don't have Catholic friends and we're in a place where we're struggling to meet other friends, other Catholic moms, others that are like-minded. I wanted to talk about this because I struggled with this for many years, and it was a very sad and lonely time for me, especially that it was at a time when, in a way, I felt most vulnerable because I had just gotten married. I was a new mom. I had left behind what I thought was going to be, my career, what I thought were my dreams and plans. And so it was a hard time and a lonely time. And a lot of the friends I had then just had very different values and perspectives and priorities. And I really tried to be proactive looking for friends. And for whatever reason, God did not allow it. I went to little mommy meetup groups and tried to connect at church, and just nothing really worked out. And so it was a sad time. But now I look back and I see why God allowed that to happen and the good fruits that came out of it. Because now I see that my definition of friendship back then was, sorry, that's my parakeet. My definition of friendship back then was just something completely different from how I see it now, because I was reading this book called The Spiritual Life, and that one actually gives a brief summary of, what good and true friendship should be. And it's someone that should bring you closer to God and uplift you in a spiritual sense. And I think a lot of what we see on TV and in the culture is also just skewed, and it's not the same as like a Catholic friendship rooted in virtue and having the goals of, both friends getting to heaven. In the movies you see like girls venting and gossiping, and that's like your little clique. And even if there's not so much of that toxicity, sometimes it can just be too much of an attachment to those friends. Like, we want to hang out with them more than our family. So like it's out of proportion. Like, we're too attached and it's unbalanced. So I see the fruits of that time, but I just wanted to talk also to, others that might feel like they don't have any Catholic friends, and encourage you of what I've learned over the years of where to find good friends. Because like I said before, I had gone to like these mommy meetup groups, and I kind of, had tried at church. And just over the years, I can tell you the places where I met, the friends that, I've had now for years, and the friendships that stuck. And so number one would be that start connecting with like the pro-life groups. That's where I have met a lot of friends and like-minded Catholic families, other moms. So another one is back when I'm from California, and when I lived there, there was this Catholic bookstore called Pauline's. And I used to just really like hanging out there, and they had a coffee machine, and I would go in with my double stroller. I just had 2 children at the time. And so on the way over there, they would fall asleep, and then so they would take their nap in their stroller, and then I would just like kind of browse some books, make coffee, end up chatting with the ladies that worked there. And through that, I ended up making friends with this family that then now they're my son's godparents, and it just morphed into such a beautiful friendship, and all thanks to hanging out in that Catholic bookstore. So the next one I want to mention is connecting through Catholic homeschool groups, and that is also where I have met some great friends. And again, you just meet other like-minded families. Push yourself to do the co-ops. I did not want to go through the effort of we're homeschooling, and then we have this freedom, and then all of a sudden give up some of that freedom to commit to a co-op. But I highly recommend it, especially in those early years of homeschooling, because that connected me with such amazing, experienced homeschooling moms and beautiful Catholic families. So I highly recommend that. And even if you're not homeschooling, even before that, we were just thinking about it, but I started just kind of getting on some of the email groups for some of those family activities, even if they're not homeschool. And we just met so many beautiful families, and I just was so in awe, because they had, at that time my family was small, with just 2 children, and then they had 8 children, and the kids were so well mannered. So it just gave a family to kind of look up to and get advice from. And another place is try to participate more in the parish events. So something that we did that we thought was amazing is we found this parish when we were new. We had moved to Maryland, and we were new there, and we were trying to find some friends and other connections, because we do not live near family. And so we ended up signing up. It was called a family dinner night, and we ended up making some amazing friends. They were our mentor couple, and it's important to find a really good parish. It's worth it even to drive. That one was not the closest parish to where we lived, but it was so worth it because that parish had so much going on for young families. And it was for couples, a marriage night, and they would have different talks, and they would have a cheese platter and wine and free childcare. I was just so amazing, because for the first few years in our marriage, we just couldn't really go on dates because we didn't live near family, and our kids were little, and we couldn't even really afford a babysitter. But even then, when you can, it's scary just leaving them with someone that you don't really know. And so just many reasons we didn't leave our children with a babysitter, so we never got to go on a date. And so this church event and these opportunities made it possible. And so it's actually through that parish, and then through the subsequent co-ops and homeschool groups, that we ended up making so many friends. And one other way that I have made friends, and again, now this friend that I'm going to mention, she became another one of my children's godmother, because she's just family to us too. So we met her when we were going to daily mass. I had the opportunity to be going every day at noon, and so we just slowly became friends, and it was just amazing how effortless it was. So if you're feeling you really would like to meet other Catholics and make friends, and you feel lonely or unsure, definitely put yourself out there and start just saying yes to things that maybe you would normally say no. Because that was the other thing. Like I used to then be like, no, I'm very much an introvert. So then my natural inclination is like, nah, I'd rather stay home. But the thing is, at home, it's hard to make friends. They're not just gonna show up at your door. So my suggestion for making friends is start getting involved in pro-life activities and networking. Start attending, maybe like if you have children and are homeschooling, co-op, or even if it's not a co-op, sometimes there's groups like just for Catholic families in general, and then there's like these monthly events and things like that. So that's a great way to meet other Catholic families, and specifically like other Catholic moms. Catholic bookstores is like a really cool way to just like end up meeting really nice people. At another Catholic bookstore, we ended up making friends with this nun that she was so sweet and just so friendly and nice, and it gives like that nice social interaction. And Catholic events, check the bulletins of different churches. Some of them, just are much more active and involved promoting events for young people or families, whatever stage in life that you're at. That is so important. So don't just stick necessarily to like the parish that's like 5 minutes away, because that's not necessarily always the one that has things going on, that support. And my final piece of advice on that subject is you will have to be patient, because it's going to come in God's time and He knows best. So if He doesn't answer your prayers right away, because that's the most important thing. The most important thing is to pray. Pray that you will meet Catholic friends, but then you have to also be patient and resign to God's will and just wait until He's ready for that to happen. Because, maybe there needs to be that period of like healthy detachment so that you learn to rely on God more, so that once you have Catholic friends, then, you don't bring those bad habits and misconceptions about what friendship is, like, for example, gossiping or just hanging out like way too much, that then it's like taking time away from your family. Those are just a few examples that come to mind. You have to be patient and pray and just be open to God's will, and He will answer your prayers. And it's always like many times over what you were even asking for. So for example, I stayed praying literally for years for Catholic friends, and it just felt like it never really happened, that I just didn't meet any other moms like me that I could talk to, relate to. But I see why I had to go through that, because then it would have just been like me talking bad about how things are going and what I call venting. That is not a good habit, So it was a blessing that I went through a time of just growing closer to God, and kind of like I've been reading The Interior Castle by Saint Teresa of Avila, and she talks about, the first 3 mansions. It's all about just becoming detached from things. And, we have so many attachments. And then there's like the snakes and reptiles that sneak in and try to tempt us back to old bad habits. And a big source of that can be friends. So it's really important to discern well who are your friends, and to just have a healthy balance and boundaries, and to be on the same page. And so that's why I think it ends up working out well when you meet other friends that are putting God first and God's work and mission, like at the pro-life activities, and at the those that are going to like the Catholic events for families, and the bookstores. They already have a kind of like a God first mentality, and that'll just set up any friendship for success and balance. And I will share that like the Catholic friends that I have, we mainly just text message, but these are like the best friendships that I've ever had in my whole life. We rarely hang out because I've met them when we've moved around, and we've met in this city, in this state, and they've moved or we moved. And it gives the perfect balance that then we keep in touch. We say what's going on. Can you pray for this for me? And I'm going to be praying about this for you. That is like the ideal balance in friendship, is, keeping in touch and supporting each other, and most importantly, praying for each other. And so, like I said, it took me a few years to find some Catholic friends, and I just had to wait. So if you feel like that, I pray that God will lead you to find good and holy friends, and just remember to be patient and just put God first, and He will definitely answer your prayers for that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and turn on the notification bell.